Well, hey everybody, I thought I'd do a real quick video on just the basics of using this style of Travisher. I've got a bunch of them out there now. And they're kind of a counterintuitive tool to use in that the blade itself does not have a depth set. That's actually set by the tool itself and then the angle you hold it with. In the most basic terms, there's a slight bevel where this piece of brass strip that's the sole, the toe, whatever you want to call it, is angled down just a few degrees from the blade itself. So you control the depth of cut yourself. And the thing I would tell you is the tendency is you want to kind of grab this like you're riding a bicycle like this and you think your power is going to come from behind. But that's not really the case. For me, the upper handles, the horns, or whatever you would want to call them, in this style are just basically to keep my big mitts out of the way. When I hold it, my thumbs simply go right back here on the flats. That's where the power is coming from. So literally that's what's pushing it along, powering the cut. And then depth is just, I'm pinching the front of it here and rotated forward is the lightest cut. At that point I'm exposing the least amount of the blade to cut the wood, and then as I rotate up, that's a deeper cut, heavier cut. And the easiest way to kind of get this muscle memory down is to just learn purely by doing the lightest cuts possible. And so every cut is going to start with the tool in the all the way down position. You'll develop that muscle memory. My fingers are just pinching it like that between the two. I'll start the cut, and I'll demonstrate on some wood here in a second. But I'll start the cut, and every cut starts with it up on that toe. You'll initiate the cut, and then you'll rock it back out. So the tendency is to want to push out like that, push up like this, scoop up, which is finishing with a bigger, heavier cut, which is probably going to result in tear out. But again, this is just kind of a refining tool. I don't use it for my finished surface. I will come back with a scraper to take out any of the little marks, but it just really will help you dial it in. I go from the scorp to the Travisher to the scraper. But anyway, let me demonstrate some cuts. I'll move in close and we'll finish it up that way. But I hope that clears up some of the misconceptions on them. But again, you're not grabbing it here, you're just pinching it with your thumbs on the flat, your finger here, and that gives you that dexterity to rotate it, and it'll look, you'll see it here in a second. So alright, let me get some close-in shots for you. Okay, so I'll demonstrate a few cuts here. Again, like I talked about before, my thumbs are just pushing there, my fingers are in this on the fronts here. I'm just controlling depth of cut just with that simple rocking motion, absolute lightest cut and maximum cut. And then my fingers, my other fingers, like I said, I'm just using this to keep them out of the way, to keep me from screwing things up. But so basically all of it is just, it's just this pinch motion. And the easiest way to do it, to learn, is to learn that lightest cut. So everything starts with it rock forward, and then just, if you can just concentrate on learning that light cut, and you can see I'm just taking just real thin shavings off here. And if you get this part down, then the transition to these deeper cuts where you're taking a lot off are very, very easy. And all I'm doing to create that deeper cut is I'm just slowly lowering it down off of that toe, that brass sole right there. And as I do it, it's going to take more power to do it. So the motion, the cutting motion, is just that. And then you finish each cut, it's subtle. I'm just rocking back up onto that. So if you go through the motions of barely taking anything, maybe not even taking anything, and then you slowly lower, you'll find you get in your rhythm. They cut very, very well cross grain. And then the other thing you want to do is you would like to skew the tool. So my grain is running this way in the board. Potentially you could have some curly grain, something like that, where you have grain that's coming up, going back down, and you may get areas of tear out. But the best way to deal with those things is just let the wood tell you. And you will see tear out initiated or whatever. Well, I need to change where my cut is coming from. Pete Galbert has that great analogy in his book that he pictures it like the bristles of a paintbrush. And so if I'm trying to go across those bristles that are sticking up, I'm going to be rolling them over. If the bristles are going this way and I'm cutting down them, I'll be cutting them off. And then the other tool that you really always want to utilize is you want to skew it. If I'm cutting purely straight down the grain, I'm going to have a tendency where it'll start to skip potentially. And it would be, here's just an unsharpened raw blade of an upcoming Travisher. But if you can picture, the Travisher body is gone. If I'm trying to cut like this, I'm trying to split up all of this wood all in the same growth ring at the same time. If I go to skewing it, it becomes this slicing motion where I'm cutting in this part of the growth ring and this part and this part, rather than the entire straight 90-degree angle to the natural fibers of the tree. So that skewing will help it, and there's going to be times you'll see yourself getting into these little bounced areas, and then you can just skew it, and you might skew it one way and it's going to work for you, and you might skew it the other way, it won't work for you. So you just kind of have to listen to what the wood's telling you, and pretty quickly you get very efficient at removing the wood and creating the shapes you want. So hope that's helpful. You know, that's the basics on this style of Travisher. There are other ones where you have control of setting the depth, you know, through set screws on the back with a tang and all that. But this is just kind of this basic one that has been around forever, and Pete Galbert refined so much. But anyway, thanks a lot. Happy chair building, everybody. See ya.